Imagine this. You're 25 years old, you just got your first real paycheck, and life feels full of possibility. You think about all the things you want, a house maybe, or a car that doesn't break down every other week. You think about the future, and it feels far away, distant, like there's plenty of time to figure it all out. So you make some decisions based on right now. You don't contribute to your retirement because, honestly, retirement feels abstract, like something for old people. You take on some debt because you need it to get by. You skip the expensive doctor's appointment because you feel fine. You don't invest in that course that could change your career because, maybe next year when you have more money. And for the moment, this all feels fine. You're surviving. You're getting by. You're living. But here's what I spend way too much time thinking about. Money, the long-term consequences of short-term decisions, and why people end up paying exponentially more for things later than they would have if they'd just paid a little attention earlier. I've noticed something that almost nobody talks about, but it shapes your entire financial future in ways you probably don't even realize. Your future self is going to pay more, way more, not because they're bad with money or because life got harder, but because of the compound cost of inaction and delay. Because of the way that small decisions, multiplied over years, create massive financial pressure. And here's the thing that's both frustrating and freeing. You can see this coming. You can see it happening right now. But first, you have to understand why it happens at all. Let's start with the most obvious example, because it's where the math gets truly brutal. Retirement savings. If you start saving for retirement at 25 and you put away $300 a month, compounding at a modest 7% annual return, by the time you're 65, you'll have about $800,000. That's not even aggressive, that's just consistent. But let's say you skip those years. You tell yourself you'll start at 35 instead, so you don't save anything from 25 to 35. Then you decide, okay, I really need to get serious now, so you're going to save the same $300 a month. By 65, you'll have about $330,000. Do you see that? By delaying 10 years, you didn't lose 10 years of savings. You lost more than half of your potential wealth. More than $450,000, just gone. Not because you spent it, because you didn't save it while it had time to grow. This is the compound cost of delay, and it's everywhere. But here's what makes this really insidious. When you're 25, $300 a month feels expensive. It feels like a sacrifice. You're thinking, I don't have that kind of money just sitting around, so you don't do it. You tell yourself you'll do it when you have more money, when things are more stable, when you're not so stressed. But by the time you finally do have more money, maybe at 35, maybe at 40, suddenly you need $300 a month, but you also need it for your kids' activities, or your mortgage went up, or your car needs repairs, and now it's still hard. It's always hard. And the difference is that you've lost not just 10 years of saving, but 10 years of compounding, time you can never get back. So your future self has to save way more for way longer with way less time for compounding to reach the same place. Or they just don't reach it, and they work longer, and they have less, and they're more stressed. Let me talk about something that's even more costly than money, and that's health. Because the way our bodies work is basically the same as the way compound interest works. Small neglect compounds into big problems. You're 30 years old and you have a weird pain in your shoulder. It's not that bad. It doesn't really affect your life. You take some ibuprofen and it goes away for a bit, and you figure it'll probably just resolve itself. So you don't go to the doctor. You don't get it checked out. After all, doctors are expensive and you're probably fine. But you're not fine. What you actually have is a subtle injury that, left untreated, slowly gets worse. By the time you're 40, that shoulder pain is chronic. By the time you're 50, it's affecting your sleep, your ability to work, your quality of life. And now you finally go to the doctor, and it turns out you need physical therapy, possibly surgery, definitely ongoing treatment. Except here's the thing. That treatment is way more expensive than the original doctor's visit would have been, way more painful, takes way longer to recover, and the damage is permanent in ways it might not have been if you'd just gone in when you first felt something was wrong. This is the cost of delay when it comes to health, and it's massive. The person who goes to the gym 3 times a week from 30 to 50 and eats reasonably well, they get to enjoy 50 years as a healthy, capable person. They can play with their kids, they can hike, they can work without pain, they can take care of themselves without help. The person who ignores their health until they have a health crisis, they end up paying for it, in medical bills, in lost productivity, in disability, in the need for care from other people. They pay more, and they get less. And the thing that really gets me about this one is that it's one of the most predictable costs. We all know that health deteriorates if you don't take care of it. We've all seen it happen. But we still wait until we have a problem to deal with it, instead of preventing the problem in the first place. Here's another one that's maybe less obvious, but just as expensive. The cost of not developing skills early. Let's say you're in your 20s and you think about learning to code. You know it could help your career. You know people who learned it and made way more money. But you tell yourself, I'm not really a tech person. It would be hard. I'd probably be bad at it. So you don't do it. You focus on your current job, which pays okay, it's fine. But here's what's happening. Every year that you're not learning, people who are younger than you are learning. People who are starting from the same place you were are putting in an hour or 2 a day, building skills, getting better, getting jobs that pay more. By the time you're 35 and finally think, okay, I should probably learn this, there are now thousands of people who started earlier, who are more experienced, who are competing for the same jobs. So now you have to work harder to catch up. You have to do the learning on your own time, possibly while working a job, possibly while supporting a family. Your opportunity cost is way higher. And even if you do catch up, you've lost years of higher income, years of experience, years of advancement. Or, more likely, you just don't catch up. You stay in the job you're in, which didn't grow, didn't challenge you, didn't advance your skills, and you tell yourself it's because you're not smart enough or not lucky enough, when really it's because you delayed. The cost of delay isn't just in the money you didn't earn, it's in the gap that keeps expanding between you and the people who started. It's in the momentum you didn't build. It's in the capabilities you don't have. And this applies to everything. Learning a language, building a network, starting a business, getting educated. The people who start early don't have to work as hard. They have momentum. They have time. By the time people who started late try to catch up, they're already behind, and the gap just keeps getting bigger. Okay, here's one that's maybe the most insidious of all, because it happens without you even noticing. It's the cost of letting your lifestyle expand without bounds. When you're making $30,000 a year, having a car is expensive, so you drive a reliable used Honda. It's fine. It gets you where you need to go. But then you get a raise. You're making $40,000 now, and you think, you know what? I deserve something nicer. So you buy a car that costs $30,000. It's a bigger raise than you thought, and suddenly a car payment seems reasonable. But here's what happens. Your lifestyle adjusts to the new income level. The car is normal now. You've adapted to having it. So when you get another raise, your brain doesn't think, okay, great, I can save more now. Your brain thinks, okay, great, I can afford to move to a nicer apartment, or send my kids to private school, or take more vacations. And each time, your expenses expand to match your income. Sometimes they expand to match your income plus a little bit. So you're always living paycheck to paycheck, even as you make more and more money. The cost of this is massive. It's the difference between someone who makes $100,000 a year and builds wealth and someone who makes $100,000 a year and stays broke. One of them is intentional about what they spend. The other one just lets their lifestyle expand because they can afford the monthly payment. And your future self pays the price because now you're locked into that lifestyle. You can't downshift easily. You have obligations, you have debt based on the lifestyle you're living. You can't take risks because you need that income to cover your commitments. You're trapped by your own choices. The person who was intentional about their lifestyle from the beginning, who said, I'm going to live on 70% of what I make and save the rest, that person has options. They have freedom. They can change jobs if they want. They can take risks. They can retire early. They can invest. But the person who let their lifestyle expand, they have to keep working. They have to keep earning. They have less freedom with every raise they get, not more. I want to zoom out for a second because there's a theme here that applies to all of these situations. And the theme is this: prevention is dramatically cheaper than cure. A $100 dental cleaning is cheaper than a $1,000 root canal. An early doctor's visit is cheaper than an emergency room visit. Learning a skill early is cheaper in time and opportunity than learning it later. Starting to save at 25 is cheaper than starting at 35. This is so obvious that it feels stupid to say out loud, but people don't live like they believe it. People live like they believe cure is fine and prevention is optional. I think it's because prevention is invisible. You do the thing, you floss, you go to the doctor, you save your money, you learn the skill, and nothing happens, no results. You can't see the cavity you didn't get, or the disease you didn't develop, or the job you didn't lose because you have a valuable skill. So your brain doesn't register it as success. Your brain thinks, I spent all this time and money and got nothing. But what you actually got was the absence of something bad, and that's hard to see. But your future self sees it. Your future self, when they don't have dental problems, when they don't have health crises, when they have options and freedom and skills, they get the benefit of your choices. And your future self, if you didn't make those choices, they pay the price. Let me talk about one more thing because it's devastating and it's something almost everyone doesn't fully understand, and that's how debt multiplies costs. Let's say you're 23 and you buy a car you can't quite afford. The payment is $400 a month. That sounds reasonable at the time. You can make that payment, so you do. But here's what you don't realize. That $400 payment is tying up $400 of your future income every month for 5 years. But it's not just $400 because you're paying interest, so it's really maybe $5,000 total that you'll have paid for the right to use that car. But that's not the real cost, because here's the thing. That $400 a month is money you can't invest. It's money you can't save. It's money you can't use to build wealth. If instead of buying the car, you took that $400 and invested it for 30 years at 7% return, you'd have $430,000. So the real cost of buying a car you couldn't afford isn't $5,000. It's the compound growth that car payment prevented you from building. It's $430,000. And here's the thing that really gets me. Most people take on debt without thinking about this. They think, can I afford the monthly payment? But they don't think, can I afford the compound growth that this monthly payment is preventing me from building? Your future self pays for that, in decades of work, in less money, in less freedom. Okay, so I've painted a pretty bleak picture. But here's the thing that's important. All of this is reversible. All of it. Not easily, maybe, but reversible. If you're 30 and you start saving now, you won't have as much at 65 as if you'd started at 25. That's true. But you'll have way more than if you start at 40 or 50. If you're 40 and you start exercising, you won't be as healthy as if you'd been exercising your whole life. But you'll be way healthier at 60 than if you don't start now. If you're 35 and you decide to learn a skill, you're behind people who started at 25, but you're ahead of people who won't start until they're 45. And in 10 years, you'll be grateful you started when you did. The compound cost of delay is real, but so is the compound benefit of starting. The math works in both directions. The key is to see it now, to understand that every day you delay, you're making it harder on your future self. But every day you start, you're making it easier. You're giving your future self options. You're giving them freedom. You're giving them the gift of having started. So here's what I want you to understand. When you make decisions now, you're not just affecting your life now, you're affecting your future self's life in ways that are often invisible. The decision to skip the doctor's appointment isn't just about saving $100 today. It's about potentially spending thousands later. The decision to not save money isn't just about having a little more money to spend now. It's about losing hundreds of thousands in compound growth. And this isn't about being perfect or making every optimal choice. It's about understanding that small choices compound, that delay has a cost, that your future self is going to live with the consequences of what you do today. But here's the beautiful part. It works the other way, too. The decision to start saving, even a small amount, compounds. The decision to go to the doctor, even when you feel fine, prevents expensive problems. The decision to learn a skill, even when it's hard, opens doors. The decision to be intentional about your lifestyle, even when you could afford to expand it, gives you freedom. Your future self is watching the decisions you make today, and they're going to be either grateful or regretful. And it's really, truly up to you. You don't have to make all the changes at once. You don't have to be perfect, but you do have to start. You do have to see the connection between now and then. You do have to understand that time is compound interest. Every day you delay costs more than you realize, but every day you start pays more than you can imagine. So pick one thing, one area where you know you're delaying, one area where you know your future self is going to pay the price, and start today. Not tomorrow, not next month, today. Because your future self will thank you, or they'll regret it. And the good news is, that's still up to you. Thank you for thinking through this with me. If this resonated, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. And let me know in the comments what you're going to change. What's the one thing where you're going to stop delaying and start now? Thanks for watching.